Guys, AEW is broken and we need to fix it. First thing right out of the gate that I would do is move to a smaller venue. I've been to a lot of AEW events, and let's be honest, this shit, if it's not a pay per view, is barely selling half the seats available if they're lucky. Plus, their smaller venue shows have much better crowds. Like this past December, they did a much smaller show in New York, and the crowd was spectacular, and it made it one of the better episodes of Collision. You can just do arena shows for like pay per views, it'll make them more special that way. Plus, it'll save you a shit ton of money because this is not acceptable. Next up, this is more of a nitpick, but there are way too many titles. Now, don't get me wrong, they're not nearly as bad as WWE in this regard, but that's a whole different post. Let me ask you something. When's the last time anyone had any interest in the AEW Trios Championships? Hell, they haven't been relevant since they were first introduced. So again, if you're not gonna book them, then why have the belts at all? To be honest, you could make that argument for any of the fucking mid-card belts at this point. Like, what has Takeshita done with the international belt? And lastly, and more importantly, they need to learn to cut their losses. Seriously, I know a lot of people give them shit for some of their more ambitious storylines and how they turned out, but I never get mad at them for trying. Like, for example, the Devil storyline. I didn't hate the premise. I thought it was intriguing. I thought it was something different. So I didn't hate them for trying it. However, where I do have a problem is them doubling down on it when it clearly didn't work. Like they had a chance to just hit the reset button, pretend like the Undisputed Kingdom never happened, and just simply did MJF versus Adam Cole. But instead, they went back when they absolutely did not have to, put on boring segment after boring segment, and now no one cares about the Undisputed Kingdom. It hampered a grudge match that should have been much better and could have been much better than it was. Another perfect example is what's going on with the Death Riders right now. I wasn't against the Death Riders at first. I thought the storyline was interesting, and on paper, it looked like it would work. However, the whole story grew stale. It never really intrigued people, and now people just can't stand it. So again, you just have to cut your losses and move on. And they had a perfect chance to do that with Powerhouse Hobbs. He looked stellar leading into his championship match with Moxley. You could have built a new star that people wanted to see, and you could have ended a storyline that people don't like. But instead, they dug their heels in, they beat Hobbs, and no one has cared about him since. And the Death Riders have only gotten worse in the meantime. And I think the best solution is for Tony Khan to take a step back from booking. No, I don't hate Tony Khan like most people seem to do these days. I think him creating AEW was one of the best things that ever happened in wrestling, and I think he had a great run for a couple of years. But over time, he just happened to lose his creative mojo and his stories became more and more stale. I mean, that happens too. It's not that big a deal. You just got to know when to give it up. Plus, he should just be delegating more in general. Like, let's be honest here. Talent relations has not been exactly at an all-time high for AEW. You might want to consider hiring more experienced people. Yeah, so I think the big solution to this is for Tony Khan to take a step back because AEW needs that monumental shakeup. It needs new leadership. Like, I'm not saying he should sell AEW or anything. I just think he should be, less hands-on because let's be honest, he's relatively new when it comes to the wrestling game. I mean, AEW's only existed for just over 5 years, so I wouldn't expect him to be perfect at it. So, yeah, I know I've been a little harsh on AEW and Tony, but I just love the promotion. I thought at its peak, it was some of the best wrestling I've ever seen, and I want it to be good again. So, yeah, that's how you fix AEW. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Was I being too harsh? Was I being too lenient? Let me know. Also, make sure to like and follow. I'm Nate Knows Wrestling, and I'll see you next time.